Hello, everyone. Welcome to InsurTalks with industry experts, an initiative by Mantra Labs. Today, we have Mr. Alex Jimenez. I hope I pronounced it correctly.
Jimenez, close enough.
So, Mr. Alex Jimenez is Chief Strategy Officer at Extractable from California, USA. Extractable is a strategic consulting, design, and data analytics agency focused on the future of financial services. His recent experience includes leading technology strategic planning for the Office of the CIO at Zions Bancorporation and managing digital banking and payment strategy and innovation at Rockland Trust. Alex has been named to several industry influencer lists in the areas of FinTech, RegTech, blockchain, InsurTech, innovation, and digital marketing. He has been featured in the Irish Tech News and in the Independent Community Bankers of America's Independent Banker. Mr. Alex, a very warm welcome on behalf of Mantra Labs.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
All right. So just to begin with, so how's the, I mean, this is just an icebreaker question, actually.
Yeah.
How's the current situation in US and in California and your region right now?
Mm-hmm. Our offices are in San Francisco, and the city has been shut down for a couple months now. I am based out of Salt Lake City, Utah, so I'm not in the office anyway. So there's a few of us that work remotely, but most of our team is working from home for the first time for a long time, right? And it's a new way of functioning. The way we work, it's really not affecting our work because we were pretty ready to work from home, but how we engage with our clients is a little different. And we usually visit our clients, and we're doing everything remotely. And most of them have not worked from home before, so it's been interesting learning experience for sure.
So what do you think, how the impact of this COVID-19 pandemic, what is the impact to the financial services industries? And how do you think the industry, this industry is responding to it, taking US into equation?
Yeah, I think that everyone for the past few months have been focused on the today and not focused a lot on the future. Just very, very few organizations are actually starting to think, well, what does this mean for us going forward? So, but a lot of the work has been on just getting people to work from home, getting them with the right technology, getting them up on Zoom or whatever, to do some of their collaboration work and so on. So it's been a lot of that. And then also trying to deal with customers and trying to figure out how to work with them. In some industries, banking, where I spend most of my time, in the US we still have a lot of branches, so there's a lot of face-to-face. So there's a lot of focus on how do we service customers without them actually being in our offices, and so people are still adjusting, and what the impact is going to be short-term and long-term, I think it's anybody's guess. I think for some of our financial service customers, they're going to have experienced digital experiences for the very first time. And for some of them, they're going to find them to be either adequate or good, and that they may not go back to the face-to-face experiences. But in some cases, those digital experiences have not been well defined, and so they're going to find that are going to be very upsetting, and they may never try digital experiences again. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. We start seeing some of the activity that's going on in some other countries that started to open, but for example, Germany opened their retail spaces, but no one's coming out of their homes. But that's a German culture. I don't think that necessarily would translate well to, say, Spain or Italy or the US. So we'll see how that works. Um, you know, I think the organizations that have well-defined digital experiences, that have defined them by keeping their customers first, are going to reap benefits out of this, because they've been able to provide support and services to customers without a lot of disruption. But those organizations that have been late to digital are going to have a problem, because they're not going to have shown that they had the right tools, and so there'll be a subset of their customers that are not going to be happy and are not happy now.
I mean, yeah, that's a very good insight. So, like how you're saying, as to the way now people are working, how do companies reach out to their customers? I mean, things are not going to be the same before now. Things
Right.
are going to be different. Even though we get out of this pandemic, social distancing will still be there, and there'll be a new way that the world will work, which,
Right.
I mean, which a term that is being called as the new normal. So in this new normal, or in this new system of working, how can we engage with the customers? How can we deal with that?
Yeah, I think we have already started to move towards a more digitally leaning, digitally centric world anyway. I think this is just going to accelerate some of that. So we will see more businesses who have ignored the capabilities of digital and digital engagement, and are going to be building them. So things like conversations with clients over video. You know, the video phone was invented back in the 70s. I think it was actually it might have been even the 60s, the very first video phone. And nobody, you know, it was too expensive and too complicated. Nobody ever did it. You know, move forward to recent times, and yes, we've had things like FaceTime on iPhones, and we've had, you know, tools like Zoom and Skype and so on. But the adoption of that hasn't happened greatly. I think that this is just going to accelerate some of that. So when it used to be that you're going to talk to your insurance agent in person, that you may say, you know what, I'm just going to do FaceTime, or I'm going to do a video chat. So that's I think that's something that we're going to see. I also don't think that there's going to be a necessarily new normal. And why I say that is, here in the US, after September 11, everyone talked about the new normal and all the different behaviors that we were going to have. Outside of the pain in the neck that it is to fly and to go through security, it really did not have a long-term effect on everybody's everyday. And even if you look at some places, that let's choose Israel, for example. People live regular lives in Israel, even when there have been a lot of attacks in cities like Tel Aviv and Jerusalem and so on. People still have the same lives that they've had before. I don't think that this is going to change the world that much, that there's going to be something so remarkable that we're going to change a lot of our behaviors. And that particularly is in a place like where I sit in the US, where the individual is king, and the collective is not really something that is part of our culture, as opposed to some Asian countries. You know, and I think culture has a lot to do with that, but I don't think that it's necessarily going to be a real new normal. There will be some
Alright.
specific changes. There will be adoption of digital technologies, the adoption of being more focused on your customers. It's going to be a more of a priority. But I just don't think that we're going to have an entirely new world. That this one thing is going to change everything that we face.
All right. Just a follow-up question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that investment in AI will be more now?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And we've already have seen that the investing in new technologies, whether it's AI or cloud computing or quantum computing and so on, have been ramping up. And this will be just another reason why you're going to see that. So you're going to see AI much more, people investing in AI much more than they have before. So whether it's just purely for, let's have better decisions and let's do better underwriting, to things like understanding the behaviors of the insureds and in the behavior of your clients, and from a marketing standpoint, that's also an area that financial services in general have not done a great job of applying AI. So there'll be a lot more investments in that area as well.
All right. So this is a little different question. Just in case if there is a new normal, what do you think would be some attention hacking lessons for insurers
Well,
in such
certainly,
scenario?
I'm not sure this is necessarily hacking, but certainly personalization and doing better at personalizing. I think we're moving towards personalization of products in general. So a life insurance is personalized to you. Generally, if you look at life insurance, for example, we'll take that example. We insure people based on their age, based on some of their medical history, etc. But what if we were able to insure them based on their behaviors? And there's movements towards that. But if we did that, would people change some of their more risky behaviors to get a better pricing in their insurance? Maybe, right? And I think we've seen a bit of that, but it's been generally, okay, if you're a non-smoker, we're going to give you a better rate, as opposed to, if you have certain qualifications and you're this certain type of person, and you can really get down to the individual that say, okay, this is your very own rate, and this is for you and you alone. I think using AI, doing a lot of data mining and data analytics, we can get to that point, and I think that's something that we're going to see more and more. That's not necessarily hacking, right? And that's not necessarily where you're asking me. But I think from building a relationship with your customer, we are not doing a great job of personalizing. So when I get messages from my insurance company, from my bank, from my brokerage, they're generally not very personalized. I get the same message that my neighbor might get. And in fact, even the basic personalization of just using my name is most often not carried through appropriately. My name is often misspelled, for one, so you lose me right from the bat, right? When they say, yeah, Mr. Jimenez, and it's spelled in some weird way, absolutely, you lost me right there, and it's not longer personalized, as you can't even get that part right. So I think applying some more personalization to your messages to your customers, and really making them feel like them. We have lots of data on our customers in financial services, but we just do not use it appropriately. So just mining that and doing a better job of managing data is something that is coming. I don't think I answered the question. I don't think any of that is hacking.
No, but wonderful insights that we got from you. So in your recent one of your articles in Extractable, deploying third-party financial service technology to mitigate risk, mitigate
Yeah,
crisis.
right.
So you were talking about what tech vendors are doing wrong. So,
Yeah.
I mean, could you throw some more light on this area as to how to encourage resources to be innovative change agents?
Yeah, so I made 2 points in that article. One was what the companies are doing incorrectly when it comes to innovation. And you get the innovative types, you get the creatives, you get the developers in a room, and you come up with great solutions to solve a problem. And somewhere down the line, just before they're about to release whatever solution it is to the market, they engage their risk management people and say, hey, by the way, we're doing this. And the risk management people put the innovation on, stop it until they're able to review it and make sure that it meets appropriate compliance and regulations and laws, etc. So risk management is always seen as the bad guy, as the hurdle of getting innovation forward. So my point was, and in my experience has been that if you get risk management people in the beginning of the process, if they're involved in defining the problem and defining the solution, you'll be surprised not only how easy it is to get through the hurdle of getting the process through risk management, but you'll be surprised that a lot of risk management people are more innovative than you would ever thought. And that you can get innovation much quicker in an organization by getting your risk management people. And in the specific point I had on my article was the vendor management process. If you get the vendor management people at the beginning of discussions of, hey, we need a vendor to do this, that you're going to be well ahead of the process. But from a more holistic standpoint, that was the how do we engage risk management in the innovation process was part of the discussion. The other part was from the vendor side. And from the vendor, particularly the smaller vendors, the InsurTechs and the FinTechs, when they want to sell to a financial service company, when they sell a service to a financial service company, they're often surprised by the very difficult vendor management process that they need to go through. There's a lot of documentation they need to present. There's a lot of things that they need to do. So my point was, be prepared for that. Once you go through your very first process of selling to someone, all those documents, all that information that you share, package it all together into a single item. And the next company that comes to buy your product, you have that already. You can turn it around and say, here's a due diligence product, or here's a due diligence package, and here you can use that to do your vendor management. And it may not answer all the questions that they have, but it will make that process much easier. The other piece is, a lot of times you have the champion within the financial service company who says, we need this solution, and the vendor should be tooling that champion within the company with as much information as they can, whether it is a sample business case, a sample ROI, a sample RFP, a request for proposal. All those things the vendor should have at the ready to provide to their prospects to make that sale quicker, and to close that sale. A lot of times is just a lot of wasted time. And I've been on the financial services side. I ask for this, and they give it back to me, and then a week later, my vendor management people say, hey, you didn't do this, so I asked for that. Something that could have taken a week, a couple of weeks, it stretches out to 3 months. So those were the 2 points I was trying to make about how we can make things faster. And the filter I had was, this all has to do with, we need to stand up solutions today for the things that we're facing today. How do we do it quicker when it takes us 6 months to do anything? And so that was my point. If you do some of these things, you might be able to do things quicker.
That's a really good insight. Thank you. I'm sure, I mean, this is something that could really benefit to tech vendors, and they can give a little more thought on this. So, coming to my next question, Extractable is into design as well, UX and visual design. So I just wanted to know, as to for insurance industry, what steps can be taken, or in terms of UX or in terms of design, to give the right customer experience during this time? What innovation or what suggestions you would have?
Well, at Extractable, we're great followers of design thinking, and so we apply design thinking uh, tools and thinking to everything that we do. When we engage with our clients, we get them through a design thinking process that includes doing research on the users, on their ultimate clients and their ultimate customers, understanding what their needs are, understanding what they expect from an experience. So we actually do sit down with actual clients and interview them about their lives, not just the specific product that our clients are selling, and to understand how they engage with technology, what are their preferences from the financial services side, how they engage with financial services organizations, how they would like to engage. And once we understand that, then we start building solutions and designs on top of that. Not only that, but it's not one and done. We don't just go and do the research, but then we also test whatever we design with actual real people. And that sounds kind of simple, and a lot of organizations do that, particularly in the software side of things. But you don't see that in financial services. And I've been in discussions within a financial service organization where we say, we should be talking to our customer to understand what they need. And the answer is, we don't need to talk to the customer. We've done surveys, so we know what they told us. And I'm a customer. I use our products, so I know what's correct. But that's not true. I mean, you are a very specific kind of person. You are already in the business. You know the industry. What you expect is going to be vastly different from someone who's not in the industry and is one of our customers instead. But financial services hasn't moved down that path, with some notable exceptions, of course. But this is what we do. We bring the design thinking to our clients, and we start from defining the strategy, defining where they're going from a digital standpoint, and sometimes not a digital standpoint, and then apply that to where they need to go, where they should go, and we work with them to define where they need to go, and then we actually design experiences for our customers, for our clients, for their customers.
All right. Wonderful. I think, yeah, design thinking is something that needs to be, practiced more in order to, and especially in this time, I think it will be
Right.
it's very crucial.
Well, design thinking starts with empathy. Empathy is the number one step, right? You need to be in your clients' or your customers' shoes, right? And so if you can't do that, if you don't know enough about it, if you haven't talked enough to people to understand what they're facing, then it's difficult to do that. Now we're all in this weird situation that we all can be very empathetic of each other because we're all stuck in this experience. But it should give us a lesson that we need to understand about empathy, and we need to understand how that applies to business. That you can't just build the most technologically amazing website or experience when the customer is ignored, and the customer will say, "Hey, this is not something I understand." I give you an example. a couple of years ago, before I was at Extractable, I worked at a bank, and we wanted to totally redesign our website. And so we had a team working on designing the website. We didn't talk to customers because we knew what we knew, right? But we built two different experiences, and they're vastly different experiences. The one looked very much like a banking website, and the other one looked very different. And those of us that got really excited about the very different were just so excited about this experience. But we did know enough that we wanted to test it out. And we did test it out with customers. And customers looked at the really fun, exciting, at least from our viewpoint, website, and they said, this makes no sense. This is not something that I would use. You know, why doesn't it look like a bank? You know, I'm going to go a bank. Why does it look like something else? And of course, you know, we threw that away and we went back to the more regular kind of website, and that's what we rolled out. But the lesson there is we were not empathetic, right? We were all excited about all these fun things that we're going to have and all these tools that we invented and blah, 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 that didn't speak to anyone but the team in the bank, who, you know, we're all excited about doing something different. So, you know, we really need to start thinking about our customers and be more focused on our customers than just what is the latest technology. You know, I mean, hey, you know, we can have a thing with blockchain and AI and blah, blah, blah on it. But if nobody uses it, then what's the big deal, right?
Yeah, true. All right, coming to our final and last segment. Since we just talked about technology right now, since you mentioned technology, so what do you think would be technology-based innovations that are being explored within the financial services industry?
Right.
And yes, we spoke about AI earlier, but in the short term, do you think that AI will play a crucial role?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
Because it involves a lot of investment as well. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
It involves a lot of investment as well. So, what do you think? Like this two-part question, wherein technology-based innovations in financial services industry and AI playing a role. What role will AI play in short term?
Yeah. You know, it depends how we define AI, right? You know, so, you know, 10 years ago, people were talking about AI, but it was more of a futuristic look of what AI was going to be, right? It was more of the thinking machine. It was more akin to, you know, a human, and or maybe 20 years ago, maybe. You know, what we now call AI includes things like fairly simple algorithms, and fairly simple machine learning, and some of those tools have been in financial services for a long time. You know, and in the insurance field, for example, you know, we've been underwriting with algorithms for a long time. You know, and we called it algorithms. We didn't call them AI. But nowadays, we put them under that bucket of AI, and certainly those algorithms have gotten better. And so, you know, continuing to improve algorithms, basic machine learning, while also looking at the deep learning, the deep AI, more the edge AI, that's, you know, kind of happening in the research side of the world. But, you know, I think AI certainly has already affected financial services and will continue to affect it and improve it better. So that's a big one. I think that particularly in insurance, the IoT, the Internet of Things is already being impactful, and it's going to be much more impactful as we go forward. So the devices, the measures that measure a person's biometrics, whether it is for security or actually for gauging behavior. Devices that go in your car to make sure that you're not speeding, that you're a good driver, and is going to give you a better insurance there. Devices that keep track of assets and so on that we're insuring, or from the banking side that we're lending against. So I think that's certainly something that we're already seeing, and it's going to be just a more deployment of those technologies. And then just some real basic stuff. I mean, we still do a lot of old age processing. There's a lot of paper shuffling and pseudo paper shuffling. I mean, sometimes we're shuffling, PDFs and other, digitized paper. That should just not be like that. Straight through processing that we talked about 10 years ago hasn't totally yet happened. And so we need to do a lot more of that. So, we're seeing tools like RPA that are being applied to do some of those things, but that really is just putting a Band-Aid on bad processes in some cases. So really looking at processes and how we can decompose them, build them all, with true automation and AI and technology tools.
All right, thank you. I would like to, thank you. That's the end of our interview. I really thank you for taking out time and participating in this interview. It has given us so many insights, and I'm sure these will be very helpful for our followers as well. And all the best, regards to you and your family, and hope the situation also gets better in
yes,
US.
For all of us.
Yeah, for all of us, actually.
Yes.
All right. With that, thank you so much. Muchas gracias. If I can just